Everybody ready?
Yeah.
I will call the Selectmen's meeting to order for February 14th at 6 o'clock. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The public participation policy applies to all selectmen's meetings. A copy of it is on the back of each agenda posted in this meeting room and on our website. Notice, the Alton Town Clerk Tax Collector's Office will be closed on Tuesday, March 8th due to the town school elections held at St. Catherine Dixel Church. Town offices will be closed on Monday, February 21st for the observation of President's Day. Public input, 3 minutes. All right, seeing none. We have no appointments, new business. Fire Department Loyalty Equipment Purchase Grant.
Good evening. To be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure exactly what's in front of you. The draft letter. Okay. So there's a grant available through the governor's Gopher Fund to do with COVID. Basically, we can go for any medical equipment that will help us respond or has helped us respond to the pandemic. One of the things we were looking at last year, we were going to replace the stretchers.
Yeah.
We waited a little bit, mostly due to the pandemic. The price of things were just going in, just crazy. This came up and it allows us to upgrade the stretchers. So the stretchers don't need to be replaced. We had the company come in and look at them, but he recommended upgrading them. And the upgrade would be a self-loading system.
Right.
So we no longer would have to lift the cot with the patient on it. It kind of locks into place. You push a button, it pulls itself in, and then we just slide it in. The other good news with that is it charges the batteries while it's in the unit instead of swapping batteries out. So they stay charged and ready to go.
Now, what do they have to do to the ambulance to fit this?
So they change, right now there's mounting hardware for the stretcher we have now that comes out, and they put a different mounting hardware that actually runs down the center directly under the cot. So it actually kind of pulls away some of the tripping hazard we have now.
We don't have to get into the wiring harness or anything.
Nope.
Plugs right in.
No, it's a self-sustained unit. The grant I'm putting in for is up to $50,000 to do the work. It's $63,000 for both ambulances to be done. And we were planning on replacing them at $21,000. So we'll be at $13,000 instead of 21 out of the ambulance revolving fund.
Well, to me, I think just saving people's backs from the lifting. is a
Yes.
Big step. And those, when did we get those stretches?
They're 7 years old.
7?
Yep.
How long these batteries last for these? They have to be replaced every.
Right now, we replace the batteries every year, and that's due to them getting swapped out all the time. So once they're charged all the time, we'll probably get 2 years out of them instead. The batteries are about, they're $700 a piece. So, but there should be a savings
No, but I've seen them.
by being able to maintain them better.
Pretty heavy stuff into that ambulance.
If we don't get the grant, what happens?
If we don't get the grant, then we'll look into
Purchasing?
purchasing them another way if
Okay.
you guys are interested in spending that money out of the ambulance revolving fund. But it kind of looks like we're gonna get the grant by the conversation I had. I can't guarantee that. He didn't say for sure, but
So what do we,
It's
what's he
looking good.
need?
Are okay to take the 13,000 out if he gets the grant.
well, I need your okay to sign the paper saying that we're allowed to
For the
apply for the grant.
Life.
Yeah,
that's what
you're looking for.
Apply
And then after that money comes, I believe at $50,000, we still have to have a public hearing.
Right.
And that would be my plan was, presented for the stretchers, but
If Mr. Chairman, I move we give the fire chief permission to apply for the $50,000 grant.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Hey,
Thank you.
Thank you. Highway Department sidewalk winter maintenance equipment purchase approval.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Good. Good. There's no weather in the forecast until it's 54 degrees and it's raining out.
That nice? We're almost done. We're almost in the sap season.
Getting ready. So this has been an ongoing battle. And I understand that this piece of equipment that's currently has been assigned for this function was purchased a little over 5 years ago, from what I understand. And I understand it's been historically, there was a couple other pieces of equipment that had been purchased for that function as well. Difficulty, as you do know, is that the sidewalks vary in size and width. So that causes a little bit of an issue there as well. The other issue that you have, as I've explained in the outline here, as far as in the memo, is that the state of New Hampshire, your sidewalks go about a little over 2 miles on state highway. State highway is that they use, as we all know, they use a fair amount of salt. And then all that gets pushed up on the sidewalks, and then we need to clear that from the sidewalks as part of the function. Currently, the piece of equipment that we have does not do that. It's a low flow hydraulic system. It does not manage that slop and slush and heavy dense snow and trying to remove it from the sidewalks. Works fine in the first storm of the year, or second storm of the year.
Till we get
Works
the heavy wet.
relatively okay with cold, dry, powdery snow. Right now, I mean, you can't move anything with it. It has no traction, has no weight behind it. That way to be able to do that. Doesn't have, we did try to retro the piece of equipment so we could at least have something to have some form of a abrasive that we could try to carry with us, so that when we get stuck with it or try to need some more traction, that we can try to do that. Unfortunately, that hasn't worked well either
Send 2 guys with it, pick it up.
that way. Well, that becomes the issue, is that we end up having staff. We pay our staff generally lots of times, if in fact staff is utilized to perform that function, they're at an overtime rate to do that, and trying to be efficient with the tax dollar relative to trying to clear the sidewalks and doing that. Unfortunately, the last 2 storms haven't afforded us that opportunity, other than where we could put the wing on the sidewalk. But unfortunately, there's been enough snow and enough ice that now that is built out and we can't push it any farther. We could push it farther, but I'm concerned about damage, not only to the town's equipment, but also to the abutting property owners. We can put that grader on that sidewalk, but that can be unforgiving, and it's going to be hard on the equipment when you're talking about 3 to 6 inches of ice that way. The piece of equipment that we have now is dangerous for the employees to run adjacent to the highway, has very poor visibility, and secondarily, because of the device itself, even when you're strapped in, unless you have a harness with a shoulder belt, you're going to become injured with it. I've already had employees injured with it. So it's an unsafe piece of equipment to be doing this function with.
What it-
That's the reason why I bring the recommendation to the board to purchase a piece of equipment that is already proven to work well in other communities. And it's a high flow hydraulic system so that they can move the material in which gets placed on
Sure, this is gonna work this time.
between Mother Nature and the state of New Hampshire places on our sidewalks or on your sidewalk.
Rich, have we tried this out to make sure it's gonna work on these sidewalks?
We have used it as far as in the dry. Before winter actually started, we started looking at some research. We did run it up on the sidewalk. I can tell you that it just fits on the sidewalk. It's actually fairly tight in a couple of the walls down here. The good thing about an articulating rig is that you can crab walk it versus a solid fixed wheel where you either fall off it.
This ain't top heavy, where if they come off the sidewalk, it's gonna lay over.
Has a relatively low ground clearance, but has ground clearance enough so that you can walk it between the curb and the sidewalk itself. It's very similar to Selectman Wentworth has I call it a uniloader type of rig that he has. It's a larger unit, but very similar to that type of design as far as a uniloader setup.
Now, I got a question for you. Got a 48-inch snow blower,
Correct.
a 5-foot bucket.
Yeah, it has a five. That's what it comes
What
with, a
happens?
5-foot
We
bucket.
gotta use the bucket on the sidewalks.
Yep.
Want to get a 48-incher?
Well, the 5-foot one actually very similar to the one that's on there now is a little bit wider. That's on there right now, but you know, I'm in hopes that we would use the either the angle plow or be utilizing the snow blower in most instances. And would only be using the bucket in areas that get plugged up. Very similar, you know, people plowing in and out of their driveways and you get a bigger snow bank. Good part about having an arm lifted loader, which is very similar to what we have with the skid steer, is that you can actually pick that up and be able to chew through the snow banks if you need to. Very similar to a holder type of rig, the used one that I showed and depicted in here. You know, that blower on it's like 4.5 feet tall. I mean, it's on a 3-point hitch on the front of that, so you can only lift it up so high. But it is a high double auger blower on that. So, but the bigger bucket, I think, adds for the versatility side of things, because I would look to be utilizing this for other functions within the operations, whether it be through grounds and maintenance over at the ball fields, if they need to, you know, either move a little bit of loam, any of the other departments, if in fact they need to get a little bit of material. I mean, it's not something that, you know, I mean, but it's easier to load a 1-ton with a couple buckets of loam or a couple buckets of gravel. You know, I think about different times that things need to be picked up in the off season. Has the ability to put forks on it as well. We have forks, so you could, you know, put a couple out of those with,
With the
Quick
blade,
disconnect.
with the blade on it, we're gonna be able to angle that
yes,
again.
yeah, it has a power angle feature.
I see it's got a stainless sander on the back of it too, so we'll be able to put something down on the sidewalk.
Right. Yep.
And it's that,
As far as,
so 1/3 yard.
correct. Yeah.
So that you're gonna have to
It's probably 1/3
take
yard,
some
go quite
trips
a
to get the
ways.
sand.
Well, actually, we would try not to use sand. We would use a de-icer, whether it be salt or the treated salt that we use, a magic salt. In that situation there, which you should be able to get a longer distance with. If in fact we need to do sand, like we have a situation that we have out here now with the sidewalks, if we needed to put sand out, of course, that would then afford it, that we would end up having to make more trips in order to be able to do that, certainly. But we don't have any other way to do it. We've tried to do it with taking a 1-ton and straddling the sidewalk and going down there.
Doesn't work
Problem
good.
is, I mean, you can tweak and try to make things go, but the problem is it goes in the state road.
Is there
You
a
have
way
to be
you can
careful with
use
that.
the chute on the tailgate to load it? You know, put the body up and let it go through the chute into it?
We can certainly be, looking at other alternatives. You can take the payloader and to put a bucket of sand in it up there and, You know, you can shovel out a yard pretty fast or
Yeah.
whatever to put it in there if you need.
But we're only talking a third of a yard.
Yeah, it's not a big,
I mean, it only takes 5 minutes to a 30 yard because I got a guy that comes down and gets a 30 yard every storm.
Yeah.
He goes down and shovels it by hand. He's done in 5 minutes.
It's not-
I have a one-time come up.
pull up next to it and shovel out of it into the back if you need to.
Scott, I guess the question I had for you, you're recommending the multi-purpose unit loader for $92,100 from Ambrose, but yet you gave us a Bobcat one, L28 unit loader
Right.
for $47,283. That's a big difference.
Big difference, hydraulics. There's a big issue there. The Bobcat is the same hydraulics that we currently have on the S70, which is a low flow hydraulics. I'm concerned about that relative to being able to be able to manage the stuff coming off the state road with a low flow hydraulics.
My concern is you go with that high flow, high pressure.
Yep.
You're blowing it 100 feet off the sidewalk into people's dooryards. Because I see that now with this little one, because I used to maintain Profile Bank. They were throwing it 25 feet in on their lawn with dirt, rocks and everything else. So you're concerned about butters properties. That's what I'm concerned about. Somebody you get in that might not be trained well on it, is all of a sudden not paying attention to their chute. And they blow that 100, 150 feet off the sidewalk.
Well, there's no doubt, you hit the nail right on the head as far as the training in the operation of the piece of equipment. The other part is I would like to be able to, at some point in time, depending on how it all actually works is, and we can't do it unfortunately down through, you know, from the village store going down all the way down till we get past Letter S Road. There, we're handicapped in that area. Areas here in the village, I'd love to be able to take that machine and be able to clear it off the sidewalk and put it in the street and then take it from the street and blow it into a truck and get rid of it. Because, you know, the concerns that we have is, and, you know, people have asked, you know, why do I haul snow and move it to a different location is trying to keep it managed so it's not hopefully going directly into, you know, water that's moving in watershed areas. So, I mean, that would ultimately be the idea, but you hit the nail right on the head, Ruben, is that somebody has to be trained and have their wits about them as to what they're doing with that chute and how they're going to direct that chute, whether it be directing it back down to the curb line or they're directing it into there. I mean, I don't like putting the stuff on people's yards because I only know because when I came in, time for spring cleanup and,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and you know, that, you know, we send the whole crew out there and we clean all along these people's yards, you know, and every town does it. I mean, Wolfboro, I used to drive through Wolfboro every spring too, and I used to see them doing the same thing. So
I have no problem with that. And I take it you're going to take the equipment capital reserve fund, the 92,000, what you're looking to do.
we can, that is one area that certainly has the funds available to be able to do that within the account. Or from what I understand, talking with the town administrator and is that there may be the ability now to access the ARPA money for this, that they've actually opened it up a little bit more. So there may be an opportunity to maybe do a little bit out of both.
How much
But that would be up to the board. Initially, when I first had this and brought it to the town administrator, was that, you know, my idea was it was come out of the capital reserve fund.
How much do we have left in that opera? Because I know we've been tagging it.
Yeah, so technically right now, so out of the first payment, we still have 95,417.73. There is some money that's earmarked out of this coming year for a Blueberry Lane project. That wasn't something I was involved with, so I don't know the extent of it, but it was Blueberry Lane. Apparently there was some wetland issues because I know that there was some bills paid out to Stony Ridge Environmental.
Oh, that's up on the mountain. That's the one you're talking about with the lake access.
So that's, they gotta change the brook. and stuff.
Yeah.
So, so right now, that money hasn't been expended, but I know there was talk for that project to move forward. So I had the finance manager give me the number currently, which is the 95,417.73. And then this coming year, well, currently 2022, mid-year, we're going to get the second payment that we haven't received yet from the ARPA funding, which is another roughly 276,000.
so can we pay for this out of capital reserve and then pay the capital
Yes,
reserve
just to
back?
elaborate a little bit more on it, the ARPA money, they had the finance manager sat in on a webinar because it came out with some new rules and regulations, and they opened up the ARPA funding to be able to utilize it on any expense to provide municipal services. They pretty much broadened it.
Oh, that's good.
To be able to use it, because I think some people were, some places were having a hard time finding qualifying projects. So they opened it up a little bit more so you can utilize it on a multitude of things. So it is one thing, it's a possibility for the board to look at.
Yeah, the only thing I don't want to do by this purchase, and I appreciate, town administrator and finance manager bringing that to my attention is that I don't want to handicap or financially restrict any other projects. And I know that, on the water side of things, we've looked at several different projects that have been in the pipeline that we just were either going to be doing thinking about grants to try to do some of these things. I know, the reservoir was one of those projects that had been talked about.
Or the
and
wall down the
Courtney is-
bay,
Right.
one up on Alt Mountain there that you just mentioned,
So,
that all fixed.
I think that is just something just to keep in mind. That's why I didn't want to just say, oh yeah, I love having the.
How much is the second payment, Brian?
Roughly, I don't have the exact dollar amount. I think it's 276,000.
So we're gonna have,
I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we can place money into it.
yeah, that's why I asked. I didn't know I think you can, but I don't.
No, I don't think you can.
I don't think.
You
you
It's
can't
not?
Put it into a general
Yeah.
fund, but you can't put it into a capital reserve.
Okay,
I think you have to do it through town meeting with.
Right.
all right.
Raise appropriate money,
Right.
put it in.
Yeah, you'd have to do a second.
Yep.
So once again, that's guys.
My idea on it is if we can buy the machine that we need for the sidewalks without costing the taxpayers money. It's money that was given to us to do projects like this. Why charge it back to the taxpayer when we don't have to? We need the sidewalk machine, but we don't.
Definitely. And
The,
plus,
And we're gonna have money in the next round for the other
And by the
projects that
time
we've
we get-
already,
by the looks of it, by the time we get up to Blueberry Lane up there, you're gonna be halfway through next year anyways.
and what's the expense on that? Has anybody got any idea what that's? I mean, we're replacing a couple
50,000 was
culverts.
the original number.
How much?
50,000.
50, but it's
But
gonna go up.
some of it's already been paid out, like I said, out of this year's funds for some of the wetlands preparation
Okay.
and permitting. So there's gonna be a balance once we do the work.
Did
Yep.
they,
We're not there yet.
did they get somebody in there to change that brook back?
Are we gonna
I
have,
know the only payments that have gone out is to.
Well, and I realize
Brian, are we
that,
gonna
but they
have
were
the
supposed to-
money from the other by the time this project takes off?
Yes.
Because DES was looking at the property to put the brook back to the original
What's that?
direction.
Yeah, are we gonna have the
I mean,
next
it's a road
payment
path.
before, because I just assume not put it back on the taxpayer if we didn't have to.
Oh, I agree.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to see it go out to bid. I know Scott went out and got 2 proposals, Bobcat and the other one, but I know there's other equipment out there that are similar to this and might be just as well, could come in a less price. I don't believe in just going out and getting quotes and taking the quote you want. Selectmen have the right to reject and refuse all bids. They don't have to take the lowest bid, but see if we can compare apples to apples and orange to
Get a
oranges.
few more.
I have no problem in going with the sidewalk machine, but sitting here, Washington Town over the years expend money on sidewalk machines. I'd like to see them get something that they're gonna keep more than 5 years.
Like you, something that works.
So something that works, but the biggest and best thing was 10 years ago, a product made out of Germany that you couldn't get parts for. We were led at town meeting, believe you could get them at Napa. So that kind of went by the wayside, just didn't hold up. Had a John Deere tractor years ago, which then that couldn't do it. Then we went to this, but I just, if you're gonna spend that amount of money, I'd like to see if there's other options out there just besides the one from Ambrose. That would do the same
And I
thing.
agree with that. There's other companies that we could see if we can tighten up on the number a little bit.
I will tell you,
If we
from
get-
experience, and I agree, I mean, if we gotta put it out to bid, we gotta put it out to bid, but you're looking at a whacker, is that what it is, the whacker? Well, you can look at a holder, which is the same thing, a trackless, which is the same thing, but you're looking at $200,000 for any one of those.
This used one that you looked at, he was also a holder, this old 20-year-old machine. Not suggesting that we would do something like that, but you looked at it, it looked pretty good, had a little bit of hydraulic issues.
Yeah, it had been refurbed, and it, it appeared in very good shape. Warren looked it over. The issue was that the PTO wouldn't stay engaged without being held in. That could be just simply a cable adjustment or
it could
whatever,
be
but
Split the machine.
not getting into it. We looked at a bunch of different stuff online, trying to make some comparisons cost wise and price wise. It's all over the map that way.
How much was that one, Scott? What's that?
39.
How much was that?
39,000.
And what year was that?
That's a 2001.
Yeah, okay, so now let's put 20 years on that and see what it costs.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's all well and good. But I mean, there's JCBs out there, there's Caterpillars out there, there's other sizes, other wheeled width. So why not just put it out to bid? I don't know what a whacker is. I've never
Right.
seen it. And I'm not gonna look it up online tomorrow, but I'm not gonna make a decision on $92,000 just off a quote. Because if I had to, I'll vote no.
I agree.
Put it out to
Don't
bid
hurt
and
to
get a
put it out to
few
bid.
more. I think it would be a good idea to get a few more price and bids.
I mean, if
Yeah,
you
I
can
mean,
get them
sure.
to bid on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I
To the specs that they're looking for.
Allow Mr. Kidman to put the specs out and everything.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we can do that. We can hope that we'll have something by sometime. And right now, ordering equipment, any type of equipment, right now, last I heard was from one of the dealers, it'll probably be sometime in 2023 before anything will be coming. So, I mean, unless it's already on the ground and in somebody's shop. And right now, they're getting premium pricing for a
Oh, yeah,
lot of
sure
that
they are.
stuff.
On
So,
everything.
which I realize, is one of those gambles that you end up taking, but,
Mhm.
certainly, my emphasis to, get things in the works here. We know we have a deficiency, like to see it get, corrected, and hopefully we can get something and get it in before next season. I think hopefully we're at the tail end of this season. Unfortunately, in my opinion, we've lost the
The
sidewalks
Northeast are
now,
coming.
because some of them have up to 4 to 6 inches of ice on them, and there's no way, I can't get them off without doing damage to something.
Oh, yeah. Tear 'em up.
That way.
It's.
Yeah, because lately I've been seeing your big loader up on the sidewalks out here. And the selectmen made a policy, I believe, 3 years ago, that big loader does not go on those sidewalks. And I've seen them scooping it into the people's properties. And I have to commend you for hauling snow away. I've asked for that for years because I don't believe it belongs stored on private property. And I commend you for hauling it.
Yeah, we're trying to, we temporarily place it in some spots
Yeah.
just to be able to get it grouped up so we can then move it.
You've been staying right on top of it. It's
That way.
appreciated.
Pile out.
I'm sorry?
Take the rest of this pile out over here.
Yes, yep. Yeah, they're working their way out. We're trying to get the bay finished up now for Winter Carnival, which is this Sunday. So we've been working with the Alton Business Association there, committee there to work through that, and
Thank you for doing that.
those folks to get that squared away, and then we're working our way back this way. Hopefully, like you say, the weather all holds, and we'll keep doing that.
50s by Thursday.
Yeah,
And we'll get hit with a northeaster.
so, yeah, I know. We're bound to have a little bit more.
Yeah.
And just to report, right now, as I had forecasted in my previous memo with winter operations, right now, even though we've been faced with a lot of ice type events here, we are on target relative to what I projected for salt usage as well, and liquid usage for the de-icer. Jack and I sat down today and went through those numbers, and it appears right now, once again, Mother Nature could give us some bad cards until
Knock on wood.
April or whoever, but right now we're on target.
Very good.
Good, thank you.
You have to have a motion to have him put it out to bid.
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so the.
I believe you should have a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Wants to make it.
I'll make a motion that we have the public works director look into putting out to bid for a sidewalk machine.
Second.
Mike Rubin, second it. All those in favor?
Hi.
Right.
Mike,
Thank you.
Thank you. Town report cover approval.
Chairman, in your books, you have a series of different color cover options for the town book. So I'd like to see if the board can agree on a cover that we can move forward with.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say the first one you come to, Town of Alton, New Hampshire Annual Report 2021 would be an ideal one, but at least maybe put reflections on it. So as a town, as a community as a whole, over the last 2 years, we've had a lot to reflect over. We have that as our model for the year of the town meeting. All reflections.
Reflections. What are you suggesting?
First one that you come to. Only reason I say that, the reflection of the water and the bandstand coming off. My image being chairman when COVID started, gone to in the last 2 years, is we've all had a lot in our community and the country to reflect upon. And the reflection of that is quite ideal. You do on the next page, you have another one that has reflection, but it's more rippled.
Yeah.
And I just thought as our model this year, we could have one that says reflections, because we've all had to reflect on a lot of things over the last 2 years, of families and lost family
Like
members.
that.
Oh, I really liked the second one.
I like the second one.
I do too.
I thought
That
that
one
was,
That was
But I
taken right
understand.
after it was completed.
Yeah.
And
think
gone
it looks
right
good.
through.
And I understand Ruben's idea with the
Yeah, I do
reflection
too.
is.
well, you could go with the reflection on that one too, my opinion.
I do
Either
like
one,
that.
Mr. Chairman.
I do like that one too. It's just a little bit easier.
Either one, Mr. Chairman. I'm just looking for maybe the model this year be reflections.
Yeah, I like that. I like the reflections idea.
The third one's interesting. I wish the town looked like that now.
They had a budget where they had
Yeah.
back then too.
It's either one or two. I'm okay with either one of them.
It's the board's wishes.
I go for, I like number 2 better myself. Page, the second one.
We want to dedicate this. It was maybe dedicated to Jonathan.
Chairman, there is a dedication page that's behind.
Oh.
I'm sorry, these are just covers. The board would express earlier on. Mr. Downs, to have a dedication, so there's a dedication just inside with the photograph.
Yeah, he's just done a lot for the town and stuff over the years. All right, I'll take a motion.
I can just do, you can just do it by consensus on picking out the cover, Mr. Chairman.
Bob,
Page 2.
Ruben,
I'll go with them.
page 2.
Consensus, we want to change the cover, just so I get it straight.
Right.
So it would say Town of Alton, New Hampshire, instead of annual town report, we want to put town reflections? Or did you want annual town report 21 and then reflections?
Then put a,
That's what I would say. You still shouldn't,
Time to
still should
reflect.
call it 2021 town report.
and then it, maybe a time to reflect or. All right, moving on, old business, planning board, CIP, planning committee, space needs review.
Evening.
Good evening, Jessica.
All right, so I'm here tonight on behalf of the CIP committee. We met a few weeks back and we were to talk about whether or not the committee thought having a separate facilities committee was appropriate or not. They did come up with some pros and cons of that. So I just wanted to share some with you. So they thought that since the process would most likely take years to tackle before enough funds were put aside. And the CIP plan currently doesn't have, a ton of funding for buildings. They thought that a separate facilities committee would be appropriate. They feel that since it's a comprehensive undertaking, it would need sort of the appropriate people on a committee. They thought that maybe in the long run, local builders, an architect might get pulled in, engineer. We'd like to have, like the planner, so myself, Budget committee, maybe a selectman's rep. So we're just trying to, get a feel of sort of who's who. I suppose after we meet for the first time, kind of figure out, who's best to sit on the committee. I highly suggest that a planning board and a zoning board member do not sit on that committee, just because of, potential future applications coming in. They'd be privy to information that other board members wouldn't be privy to.
I misunderstood that. Not to have planning board?
To not have a planning board or a zoning board member, just in case an application comes in the zoning board, then you've already had one member privy to all that information going on without all the other members knowing what's going on at the same time.
He would have to recuse himself.
Right, and then you're down a member. The zoning board doesn't have a lot of,
Oh, zoning board.
yeah,
And planning board.
yeah,
She did, she said
She
both.
said-
yeah. I mean,
I think planning board should be involved in it. In my opinion, I just think they should
Right.
be involved in it.
Mr.
So they
Chairman,
get
I
reports as it goes on.
would recommend the seven-member board for facilities committee. No more than what a budget committee has on it. One, the town planner. One or two board of selectmen. Myself, not saying myself, the code enforcement officer, because they're looking at it, somebody knows codes would be nice to have in there.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
And the two biggest ones you're gonna be looking at right off, they're gonna be looking at is fire department and highway department.
Right.
That's the one that takes the most priority as we can continue on a regular general maintenance. So if you did one selectman, the town planner, code enforcement officer, there's three. You can get two members from public at large, and then the other two could come from within. Possibly maybe police chief, or where you're gonna be talking one, or fire chief, where you're gonna be talking one is emergency building for right now. Or the public works director, if they're interested in being on it.
I think public works.
I think it was mentioned at our town meeting or at the last selectmen's meeting that one gentleman said that a selectman should be on there. It'd be one of our committees, and the select board should be represented on. And I appreciate Jessica coming back with this and bringing it back up again and getting it going.
right, that was the other thing that the committee thought, that, having a separate committee would kind of help keep that ball rolling.
Well, keep the ball rolling and break up a lot of duties from them from having to get more involved in other committees.
You got a few more minutes each day, so.
I would say I would be willing to be on it, but I have to tell you, this will be my last year as a selectman in the town of Ball. So I will not be running next year, where this is a multi-year long project.
Right.
And I think it should be a selectman that will be sitting here for a while.
I think the importance of an engineer type person is important
warranted.
also.
If you can get them in there,
But
yeah.
if we can get a public works director involved, his background would be very important.
Right, considering the fire and highway were sort of chosen to be looked at first. We had all intentions on including them.
Yeah, because that's gonna take a while by the time they figure out
Yeah.
exactly what they need and what the growth's gonna be. And
Right. So that was their question. That was their question to the selectmen is, can you appoint a separate facilities committee?
Creation of a separate facilities committee.
Yes,
Chairman,
Jessica to do it.
I'd like to make a motion that the Board of Selectmen create a facilities committee, be led by the town planner, one member of the Board of Selectmen, Public Works Director, one safety official. And I believe I need two more to make it seven, and two from the general public, or three.
Enforcement, you mentioned?
Excuse me?
You mentioned code enforcement.
Code enforcement officer, and two from the general public, which will give it a 7-member committee to report back to the selectmen on a quarterly basis to where they stand.
I'll second. You okay with that, Jess?
yep,
Okay.
You wanted more work, right?
just another committee. I
Okay.
didn't have enough.
She's got a few minutes left each day.
How many is that now? 5?
That would make 7.
7 committees?
Caught in their office down there.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other questions or anything?
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
But
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fire department, min-max adjustment.
Well, again,
Mr. Chairman, just a little bit on this. This is under business. So when I came into the town administrator's office, there was already previous discussions about the fire department's reclassification, and the fire chief was tasked with going out and getting some information, some comparatives, and putting together a proposal. That proposal hadn't made it back to the board yet, so that's why this is on business tonight.
Yeah. This originally came up in August, after
Right.
hiring the full-time captain,
Mhm.
because the captain's pay ended up higher than the deputy's pay.
Well, that's why I think we gotta go through each department and do this.
Yeah, I don't know when the fire department was last updated, but it needed it. And the old min-max schedule, I mean, this one's a little confusing. The old min-max schedule was confusing. Basically, what my proposal comes down to is starting off, unskilled or uncertified people that come on to get certified at $16 an hour. And then having a stepwise fashion for certifications and then levels after that.
Now, I see the firefighter 1, 2, and 3, 25 cents each.
Yep.
So,
That's actually matching what we currently have.
well, that's what I'm asking.
Yep.
Because, and that keeps them here happy and, you know what I mean, that we're not then losing them.
Some people we train and lose,
Right.
and, we do our best to hold people as we can. Moving to permanent staff, some of those people that would be moving on to other departments would stay because we'll have a place for them. And that's where we're losing people. We're losing people to full-time employment. We're not really losing people because, we're not paying them well. We just don't have a job for them
Now,
as far
how
as
does
that
this match
goes.
up to like other departments of our size? We,
So a lot of departments are, and I don't agree with it for our situation. A lot of departments are actually having their call departments move away. They're just, and it's not necessarily something they're pushing them away. But volunteerism is just down. And, so I want them to stay as best we can. So it's kind of hard to match this. I don't know of another department that has 24/7 per diem coverage. I know departments that use per diems here and there, but not as their primary coverage. So we're a unique situation. And because of that, as everybody knows, it's hard to find employees.
oh, we're lucky we got the people that we got.
Yeah, and the idea is to pay them appropriately.
Right.
And by doing so, by switching to this program, it actually lines up perfectly with what we had already talked about for a full-time pay rate for a firefighter 2 EMTA. And it actually fell right into where the captain's rate was already planned. So all of it fell into place pretty well. Mathematically, it worked out well. As far as other towns go, I can just grab the town of Wolfboro there. They have firefighter 2s EMTB, but they don't transport. They don't have an ambulance. They start at 1970. We're looking at EMTA starting at 1950. So it still puts us a little bit behind them.
But in the ballpark.
But in that ballpark, and it would be the same for whether you're full-time or not. The full-time people will also get benefits, including retirement and healthcare. The other thing to note is this plan, it's budgeted for, number one, and number two, if we make these increases, it will take the place of merit increases. Everybody's still going to get their reviews and all that, but it would take the place of merit increases. It would just be a pay change. with the exception of myself, hopefully, if I deserve a merit. The secretary who is already within
That range.
for all the administrative assistants in town. And then the newest full-timer, Pat. He has already been put on this scale, so he would go through the merit process as well.
And this straightens out the
But this kind of brings everybody,
differential between the
Yeah.
two and stuff.
yep, this brings it back up to a reasonable pay. I think $16 an hour is fair for somebody who's getting in the back of the ambulance to learn, and then, you're going up to 17 by being a certified person working in the back of that ambulance. The other thing that this adds that was never talked about before is a certification called EMR, Emergency Medical Responder. It's a certified person to, basically, it's just above first aid to assist a basic on scene and then drive the ambulance. So it still provides 2 medical licenses, but it takes a lot less hours for the course and a lot less training. And it actually came up because somebody applied who is an emergency medical responder. And I'm like, I don't have a way to pay that right now. So we put that into the adjustment to make it work.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minimum max that the fire chief has submitted in his letter dated January 5th, 2022.
I'll second that. Discussion? Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Nice
Thank
job,
you.
chief.
Thank you.
Selectmen's reports. Bob? Robert?
I did have one thing, Mr. Chairman. It's not really a report. I received a copy of the signed contract, the majority of the board signed 2 weeks ago. Asked for a copy of it to be sent to me today. And I noticed up in the top right-hand corner, it says non-pub on the signed contract. If we're asking for copies, that's something that's already public information, should not have the abbreviation of non-pub on the contract. So I would suggest to you gentlemen, have a new contract printed out and re-sign that does not say non-pub on it. Thank you. That's all I have, sir.
Nothing.
Oh,
No, we covered it earlier. I just wanted to say thank you to Public Works Director and everyone, the crew of the cleanup that's been going on throughout the town with the loaders and getting rid of these piles and getting rid of the snow and ice and keeping as much of the watershed area protected, clean. Thank you.
all right, moving on. Town administrator report.
Gentlemen, I have a couple of things for you. So first of all, there is a packet with a letter from DOT about the sale of some property. Forestry Society, or Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forest. Matt Leahy had reached out to the board via email to kind of give us the heads up that they were looking to purchase property off of Mount Major Highway next to the Mount Major Trailhead parking. I was told, I had a conversation with Matt Leahy today on the phone, and he had mentioned that he did speak to the board a while back, expressing interest that they were going to pursue it. They've made some headway. I got a letter. This letter actually arrived in the mail this morning. So that's why I included it in here. I had the email, but I didn't have the letter from DOT.
Remember back, the forestry, when they come in and talk to us, this was to
Yes,
try
I
to
remember.
expand that parking lot.
Right.
Yep.
And I talked to him, and their intention is just that they're looking to provide expanded parking for Mount Major Trailhead, probably to really try to help with all the overflow on Route 11 and the parking issues with the increased use over there. So what the question of DOT is obviously when they sell land in the town, part of their policies and procedures, they reach out to make sure that the town doesn't have interest first. So that's why I'm bringing it to you folks to see whether or not you have any interest. There are some pictures of the property. It's basically a portion of the right of way or over the right of way. The Forestry Society owns the land that abuts it and adjacent to it. So it really, a good portion, majority of it would be non-buildable land anyways, other than, well, traditional building like for residential home or business, it would be more, like I said,
If I
More
recall-
inclined to
I
expand.
think it's more important to get extra parking.
It was expansion of the
If I
parking.
recall, the last time we talked about this, we had no interest, really,
Right.
but it's just a legal technicality
And when
by
we
the
talked to
state.
the-
which
That
is
was
what
the
they
idea
told
when
us.
forestry came in front of us. They were gonna try to get this to expand that parking to try to fix some of the problems.
It needs it.
Yeah.
I don't think we want anything.
No. No, I think that's good for forestry.
Do we need to vote on that, or is that just a consensus?
You need a motion on that or anything?
I would take a vote on that. I think they're asking for an official, position of the town. I would have a vote
I
on it.
make a motion to allow DOT to sell the property to Hampshire Forestry Society, and the town has no interest in that little piece of right of way.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Second one is, you'll see there's a septic easement. So, a while back,
Hang on.
you guys, folks had met with, Tom Barney about septic system for Pops Clamshell. That septic system was reviewed and, there was a portion of it that goes out onto town-owned property. Based on that meeting, I was in the audience that day. I wasn't present as a town administrator, but the board was in favor of the plan and allowing them to expand. At that point in time, that request was sent out to town council, and right before,
Do we have a picture of the system or anything?
I have the system right here, full page.
Yeah, I would.
So this easement was actually drafted by town council, provided me with the draft. And then I plugged in the
I remember talking
dates
about
and names for the board of selectmen on it.
It's gonna be right in by where Shibley's septic is, right?
Across the street, right across the street.
Shibley's.
Actually, the back page is a little clearer if you want to see location.
That's the same plan we looked at before.
Yes. And nothing's changed on the plan since the original presentation.
Right in here.
Yep.
And that's not into the campground?
No.
That's still in town property gate.
I think we stated that before.
It's right alongside Fox Land Show.
On the easement, you see it makes reference to the map and the for the town property. That was-
No, I haven't seen it.
No, I think anything better than having the older systems down there.
Any improvement is worth it.
The other reason for this gentleman is that this gentleman can't buy the property from his business, from his father, unless they have a new plan, septic plan in place, plus also allow him to do improvements on the building also. Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve the septic easement
I'll second.
for Jonathan Benton, 19 Sheridan Avenue, Rochester, New Hampshire. Quick claim covenants.
And I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Last thing I have for the board is just a quick update. There was some conversation about the town hall boiler, and I did go out and get an update on that for you folks. So before our last scheduled meeting, right before, about a half hour before, they discovered that the boiler, one of the main water feed lines broke. Pouring water out under pressure in there, so we shut the main feed line. The initial breaks were of the supply wide coming into the boiler, but the boiler itself. Had a contractor come out on Tuesday morning, repaired all the copper and breaks in the line. The maintenance company for the boiler, Spartan, I believe is the name of it, came out, fired the boiler fired. What they discovered is in that supply line, there's a pressure control valve, pressure valve and a control valve. And both of the valves, because of the, they're assuming that the pipe froze because of the splits in the copper, either that the fittings. One of them was a shark bite fitting that went as well. But currently, right now, those two valves for that line are on order. So that's the status with the
That
boiler.
boiler is down.
The
Boiler is down right now. They did, like I said, it fired, it ran. There's no more leaks. The leaks are taken care of, but those valves have to be replaced because they were compromised when the line let go.
So we're just on,
We're on some mini splits right now.
What do we have for heat inside the cellar though? Is there heat in the cellar from the mini splits?
I think it's more residual. The temperature is
It's staying
maintained
warm
even
enough.
through these cold areas. We've opened up the
Sure.
doors in the boiler room to facilitate more airflow, but there's no actual mini split down the basement.
So we're constantly watching the temperature every day during these cold spells.
That's refreeze.
It's been.
yeah, because
it's
like
been okay,
tonight's,
though.
tonight's 5 to 15 below. We have a heater or anything down there to make sure that we don't freeze up our
I believe
pipes.
there's a heater in there right now. I don't.
I mean, we have those,
But
What was the
that,
last check of actual
those
temperature?
little electric ones. if you
but
would.
that would be uncalled for because those electric heaters should not be left unattended. Fire chief might even attend to that.
What's that? I'm sorry.
The electric heaters, those electric heaters that's been all over, not to leave them unattended because the cords get so hot. That's what malfunctions on them. That's what starts the fires.
Gotta have something down there.
But during the day, if we run enough heat down there, if we keep our eyes on it, then unplug it before we go
Should be
home.
all set overnight.
And it should be all set overnight, but it's more the downstairs and the old foundation allows the drafts to come in. That's what I'd be concerned with.
Well, that's what I mean. Tonight, if we go to 15 below, I'd be a little nervous on the pipes, with no heat down there.
I will,
Especially you split one of them 3-inch.
Definitely double check before,
I will.
just to see what the temperature is down there.
And I'll check with,
right now.
I'll check with Kelly as well. She gave me the update, but on her update with me, it's the parts were supposed to be roughly a week out, which would be today or tomorrow morning. So hopefully those, we're gonna have those parts in hand, hopefully, the valves.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify
Thank you.
that. What the situation was. That's all I had.
Moving on. Approval of minutes, December 20th, public session.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
December 20th, non-public session.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve the December 20th, 2021 non-public session, releasing number 1 and number 3, not divulging number 2.
Well, second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. January 3rd, public session.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes for January 3rd, 2022.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I have one question.
Yeah,
Oh, no, okay, I'm all set on the third. Yep.
all those in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain.
January 3rd, non-public session.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve January 3rd, 2022 non-public session, not divulging items 1 through 5 and 6. This time.
You want to keep everything sealed?
Yes, sir, because that all has to do with litigation.
Number 2.
I noted items 1 through 6. That covered number 2.
No, but does that one have to be?
It doesn't have to be. though, right?
Until you get through
Okay.
this one tonight.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
I have
Aye.
Go ahead.
one question, Mr. Chairman. They have me down as absent.
Yeah,
Does that make a difference? As I was excused. Excused. The regular meeting, which, I called in, so I don't know.
I think that's your preference. I think it'd be your preference. You want to
Well,
change that to excuse?
well, it makes no difference to me, other than selectman is absent so many times, he can be removed. It's in the personnel policy.
I don't
I
believe
think
that's
right.
true.
I don't think that's right, Bob. I don't think you can do.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
3 meetings, you can ask, you can have the board.
Well, I've had absence and I've called in and I've never clarified it, but I have reasons for not being here. And I don't believe you can remove an official unless they have done something criminally or just put the board in jeopardy of anything else.
He can be asked to be removed.
Be asked
There's
to,
a-
there's a
yeah,
difference.
Yeah, well, that's what I
I
meant.
think that's an
But
awful court case
usually-
I don't want to get into. though, before
usually-
that happens.
Everybody's got either tied up or something, you know, I mean, there's always a.
Yeah, but if you call in, you're excused.
Right.
That's the way I looked at it.
Yeah.
And I did call in.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
If you get a
That's the way I
letter
look
from
at it.
mom or something.
I mean, it makes no difference. I just,
All right. We can change, we can have it changed if you would like. Ruben had a motion seconded.
I did.
You made the motion.
He made the motion.
You
I
seconded.
second.
Good, okay. All those in favor?
I oppose. Excuse me. I abstain.
Nay, yeah. January 19th, public session.
Chair, make a motion to approve the January 19, 2020 minutes.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain because I called in.
Abstain.
Okay. All right, January 19th, non-public. See.
Yep, right here, January 19.
That's.
Mr. Chairman, my recommendation would be maintain sealed 5, releasing 1. It's just because there's a few of those matters. Some other business.
Even 3.
Yes.
Okay. Make a motion that we approve January 19th, non-public session. Releasing 1 and sealing 2 through 5.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Consent agenda. I have a question for you, Ryan, on this.
Sure.
Elderly exemption.
Exemption.
Yeah. Eagles weigh 40,000. Is that a misprint? Am I misunderstanding it?
40,000, I believe, is what he's referring to, is the
Full value?
the standard. I don't think it's the value, I think it's where your income needs to hit in order to qualify for the
Oh.
elderly exemption.
Okay,
It's exactly,
That being 40,000, less than $40,000 household income.
so the actual exemption is 455.
Yes, that's.
Okay. that's what I want. Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written for February 14, 2022.
I'll second that.
questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Action, public input, 5 minutes per person. Government or town business. Everybody step up.
Lauren Cobb.
Good evening.
I was a little disappointed that we didn't have a State of the town report this year.
What?
State of the town report this year.
Town report's coming.
We've had for years upon years. I think when Ruben was the chairman, he always gave a report at the beginning of the meeting, state of the town report, explaining what happened in the town during the year, what you people have accomplished, and what you've done. It's my understanding we have a new attorney. My understanding we have a new town administrator. Townspeople ought to know about that. Very disappointed that that was not done. Should have been done. I'm glad you've decided to take the reins on the facilities, this new facilities you're talking about, this new safety building. I'm glad to see that you've taken the reins on that. I was involved with the school one. It's a great resource. The Municipal Association, which we belong to, has a great resource. When we were doing the school, they have an outline of what you should do, how it should be done. I think that would be a great thing for you people to look into that. You kind of jumped the gun before you looked at that meeting, that, outline of what they have. So, but I'm glad to see that you people have taken the reins on that. And it's 3 years is for the, 3 meetings is for the budget committee, not the selectmen.
Excuse the 3.
If you miss 3 meetings for the
Oh.
budget committee, not the selectmen. Thank you.
Thank you. A little hard getting out of that chair at your age or what?
Since we're unable as a public, in order to see the plans that you have there, just only because I did all the work in the bay, we ran into so much stuff from the railroad. So I kind of know where all the pins are because back then, originally George Christensen did the survey and he showed them all to me. To the right of the end of the sidewalk and to the left of the pin that is owned by the town property, there's actually a vault in there that's been filled in, and the vault was the ash vault. And we had brought Marty Cornelison down into it. So it's all, it's about 5.5 feet deep, 6 feet deep, and it's all in granite. It's a big square. So I'm not sure where they're locating this new septic system, but it may be in the middle of the old ash vault.
We should have you take a look at that so we can at least tell them.
I don't know. I just thought I'd mention it because I know where the town properties are and all the work that we did in the bay and all the stuff that we found in the bay from the old railroad. So I'd be happy to look at it after the
Worth looking at,
session.
just so we can, mark it close to let them know before they get tearing everything apart. Because granted, ain't gonna be an easy thing to move down in there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, seeing none, we'll close public input and we will move to non-public session. Let's see. I move, make a motion to enter the non-public meeting for RSA 91-A:3, number 2, A, B, C, and E. Thank you, Kenny. That'll be a whole lot of work. Sorry. Oh, you want a roll call on that? Yeah. All right. I made a motion. Second.
I'll second.
All right, Bob, for non-pub.
Yes.
Ruben,
Yes.
Rob? Yep. Paul?
Yes.
Virgil, yes.